Hello and welcome back to another episode of Injustice For All MMA. My name is David, and this episode is for UFC 274, Oliveira V Gaethje. Now, just to start this off, of course we have an injustice. We have a robbery on the cards, but if I were to grade this whole pay-per-view entirely, it was a lot. It was good. It was great. It was exciting. I was pumped. A lot of fights. I think the last time I felt like this, where I watched this many fights in a row, is I'm trying to remember. Might be the Florida card. I'm trying to think. Can't remember the numbered card, but it was Usman versus Masvidal 2. I think in Jacksonville. That had a lot of fights on it. This one had 14, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. It had 14 fights on here. I mean, that's a lot. That's a lot. And I'm not saying my scorecards were impacted by that. They definitely were. Come on, iron scorecards. But a lot of fights. It's a lot of fights to just sit and score and score and score. A lot of fights, man. A lot of fights. And some of these scorecards really tested, not the unified rules, not the scoring criteria. Excuse me, not the scoring criteria, because the scoring criteria is pretty stern. It tested whether or not people were paying attention, or just how you interpret who won the fight, and I'll explain that later. And not for the fight you're expecting. First, we have an injustice on the card. First injustice. We only have one injustice, okay? And I would be probably more pumped, but I just watched 14 fights in a row, so I'm not as pumped so I could care less at this point. First injustice on this card is Ivanov versus De Lima. I scored this fight 29-28 for De Lima, with giving him a 10-9 in the first and the third. In the second round, I thought it was close. I put a close marker on it. So, at the worst, you could make this a 30-27 De Lima. We read the judges' scorecards. Junichiro Kamijo had it 29-28 Ivanov. Chris Lee had it 29-28 Ivanov. And then Eric Colon had it 29-28 Ivanov. This has happened a couple times where, I believe there was a fight at the Apex. I believe this is Priscilla Cachoeira versus a South Korean fighter, where all three judges unanimously gave it to the wrong person, objectively speaking. We don't have to talk about the first round. We know who that went to. We don't have to talk. The second round, I put a close marker on it. I thought it was close, but I gave it to Ivanov. The third round, though, in the third round, while it was very close on the feet, De Lima got a takedown. This is the thing that keeps confusing me, because, there's these, and I won't go into detail because there's hours of detail I've gone into this about, but to keep this short, no round is the same, but rounds are the same. There are certain actions that make the round the same, and it's been traditionally scored this way, and I'm not saying that it can't be, but I am, because if the round stays the way I'm describing, then it can't be. It's traditionally scored where if rounds are close on the feet and someone gets a takedown, you've showed a different element of mixed martial arts, thus winning the round. This is what happened in the third round. Okay, De Lima got a takedown at the very end of the third round while it was close on the feet. Strikes were very close in the third round. This round belongs to De Lima, and the fact that it wasn't given to him is a pure robbery. So, off the top there, it's an injustice. All three judges scored it that way for Ivanov. honestly, De Lima should have this, but it is what it is. Now we go to the honorable mentions, my favorite category, where I just nitpick at scorecards and just whine about them, really. First honorable mention is Newsom versus Garcia. I had Newsom winning 29-28, with him getting a 10-9 in the second and the third. So the judges: Junichiro Kamiya scored a 30-27, Chris Lee had a 30-27, and Brad Frank had it 29-28. His scorecard reflects my scorecard. Honorable mention to Junichiro and Chris, because they gave Journey the first round. Now, in that very first round, Newsom had a takedown, but he was outstruck. I think I wrote this wrong. Yeah. Oh, I wrote this. Okay. Newsom had a takedown, but Garcia outstruck him on the feet. I'm surprised they gave him that round. It was one of those takedowns where it's like, here's a takedown. Garcia gets up pretty quickly, and he outstruck him the entire round. It's clear cut who wins this round. I'm surprised two judges scored it that way. So honorable mention to those two. Next honorable mention, Carnelossi versus Godinez. I had this 30-25. In hindsight, I should have this 30-26. I'll explain in a second. But I had a 30-25. I gave a 10-8 for the first and the third for Godinez. Scorecards: Eric Colon had a 30-26. Chris Lee had a 30-26, and Chris Flores had a 30-27. I'll explain the 10-8s. So, looking at this, in the first round, Godinez had 4 takedowns with ground and pound the entire round. In parentheses, I put possible 10-8. For me, that's the entire round. Carnelossi got off 0 offense. 0 offense. That's a 10-8 round in my book. So 10-8 for that first round. Second round, virtually the same thing happened, basically. A little different, obviously. Godinez outstruck Carnelossi, got a takedown with ground and pound, had a submission attempt. Possible 10-8 in this one because all the action was Godinez, but no, I didn't give this one to her because Carnelossi was active on the bottom. She was a little active on the bottom. She obviously showed a little something, so obviously not a 10-8. For those first 2 rounds, Chris Lee and Eric Colon gave a 10-8 for the second. I disagree that the 10-8 should go there. Carnelossi was active, so I don't think a 10-8 should be put there. But I've noticed a pattern with a lot of the judges where if you display multiple things and you're the only one doing it in the round, they'll give it 10-8. So I've noticed that from previous scorecards. So that's their thing. I don't think that round is a 10-8, but that's fine. Then the third round, I gave a 10-8. Godinez had 3 takedowns with ground and pound for basically the entire round, and I put a marker as a 10-8. The reason why I say I shouldn't have probably marked that a 10-8 is because Carnelossi was also a little active. Actually, looking back, and by little active, I mean she had a couple shots from the bottom or on the fence when Godinez had her down. So honestly, I can go either way. 30-25, 30-26 is actually okay. So I'm not really mad at it. But yeah, in fact, in hindsight, I would actually keep the 30-25. So, yeah, there's really no honorable mention here. I disagree that the second round's a 10-8. I disagree with that. I won't give them an honorable mention, but I will highlight the fact that they did that. 30-27. I don't think it's a 30-27, but I can't get mad for him not giving it 10-8, so I'll leave that alone. That's that's whatever. That's me hyper nitpicking. So that's it on that one. Next honorable mention, we have Rodrigues versus Vergara. I had this 29-28 Vergara, giving him a 10-9 in the second and the third. Scorecards. So Eric Colon, 29-28. He reflects my scorecard. Junichiro Kamijo had it 29-28. He gave it to Rodriguez. He gave the first and the third a 10-9 for Rodriguez. And then Eric Colon, 29-28 for Vergara. He reflects my scorecard. The first is secured. Second is secured. Honorable mention to Junichiro for the third round because no. In the third round, Vergara outstruck Rodriguez. Okay. And while I'm sorry, give me a moment real quick. I'm looking at my cheat sheet here. Right, but got 3 takedowns. 2 to 3 takedowns. I couldn't really. Yeah, but got 2 to 3 takedowns with a little bit of ground and pound. And Vergara was very active from the ground. Very active from the ground. I mean, so active enough that it won him the round. Yes, he outstruck Rodriguez on the feet, but he outstruck him enough. He also was very active on the bottom too. So honorable mention there to Junichiro Kamijo. Okay, next honorable mention here. Next honorable mention is Chiasson versus Dumont. Chiasson versus Dumont. I had this 29-28 for Chiasson, giving her a 10-9 in the first and the second. Scorecards. Eric Colon, I had it 30-27 Chiasson. Junichiro Kamijo had it 29-28 Dumont. And then Chris Flores also had it 30-27 Chiasson. So, first, all 3 honorable mention. Off rip. Okay. Let's start with the third round. The third round, Eric Colon and Chris Flores get this wrong, in my opinion. They give this one to Chiasson in that third round. Okay, in the third round, both get a takedown, but Dumont outstrikes Chiasson on the feet. While Chiasson has like clinch strikes, you could probably say she has the most clinch strikes in that round. Dumont outstrikes her well on the feet, enough to win that round. So I think she wins that round for sure. As for Junichiro Kamijo, he gives the first round to Dumont. I disagree with that again. It's close on the feet. Another one of these rounds where it's close on the feet, and two judges scored it this way. I know I can't really use that tactic, but still. Very close on the feet. Chiasson got a takedown to end the round. It's our round. Boom. So honorable mention to all 3 for different reasons. Next honorable mention, Trinaldo versus Roberts. Okay, I had it 30-27. This is a 30-27. I'm surprised to hear these scorecards. Eric Colon had it 29-28 for Trinaldo. Junichiro Kamijo had it 30-26. I'm confused. I'm really confused, actually. 30-26. And then Chris Flores also had it. He had it 30-27. His scorecard reflects my scorecard. First, we go to Eric Colon. So he gave the first round to Roberts. I'm confused. He gives the first round to Roberts. Listen, straight up, Trinaldo outstrikes Rodriguez. So we're just going to end that there. Honorable mention there to Eric Colon. Then we have Junichiro Kamijo, who gives a 10-8. A 10-8, just a random fucking 10-8 out of nowhere. He gives a 10-8. Okay, he gives a 10-8 for the second. What happened in the second round? Trinaldo outstruck Rodriguez, got a takedown with ground and pound and a submission. No. In fact, I'm a little confused. I'm going to go back up to the Godinez fight to see if he scored that No, he didn't do the fight. Okay, so I'm just confused there. I guess if a person does a bunch of things, they just get a 10-8? No, it's an unnecessary 10-8. It's a random floating 10-8. So honorable mention there for the excessive 10-8. Then we go to the next fight. This was a split D. Next honorable mention. This is Brown versus Williams. I had this 29-28 for Brown. The last round, though, you can kind of give this to either person, and I'll explain that in a second. I give the last two rounds to Brown. 28 for Brown. Chris Lee scored it the exact same way I had it, 29-28. Junior Chikamija, same way. And then Rick Winter, same way up until the third round, where he gives the last round to Williams. Now, the only thing in question is the third round. So here's... I've expressed this 400 times. I think I did it in the last 2 episodes where I just talk about when someone gets dropped, it becomes a thing. And this will come up in a future honorable mention, but it seems as though when you outstrike somebody and that other person gets dropped, you win the round. It's fairly simple. Rounds are close, you get dropped, you lost the round, right? But over the past few weeks, they're changing this where if someone gets dropped in a round, and you know what? We've seen rounds where someone's getting outstruck. This is what's so confusing. Someone is getting outstruck, okay? And the person who's getting outstruck drops the other person. They will win the round. We've seen this on many scorecards. So now I'm looking at these scorecards like I'm confused now. Obviously, I have my way of scoring this, and I'll tell you in a second. But the scoring on this is inconsistent on the dropping. So the reason why I bring that up is... Oh, and another example is someone can get dropped, or I'll just give the example now. In that third round, okay, in that third round, Brown outstrikes Williams, okay, but not enough though. At least in the eyes of Rick Winter, right? Because he drops him. Brown gets dropped by Williams, but Brown outstrikes Williams well enough for me to give Brown the round and 2 other judges. But I put a close marker. The reason why I did that is because I felt as though, okay, you can kind of argue this for Williams. The reason why I'm so confused about it is because in a second, I'll explain that in a second, there's other fights where I don't think it's as clear to where you give that person the round. See, in this exact fight, Brown got dropped. It's just what it is. Brown got dropped in the third round. So if you're scoring this the way that the 3 judges scored it for Chandler versus Ferguson, then Williams should win that fight. Williams should win that fight. But he didn't. And again, I scored it for Brown. But my scorecards have been this consistent where, yes, someone can get dropped and still lose someone can get dropped and still win the round. We've seen judges do that too. But I'm just confused at I'm not mad at this fight, right? You can kind of argue it either way. I put a close marker on the third round. Williams could have won this fight. Brown could have won this fight, and I wouldn't have been pissed. I'm just confused on the inconsistency where on this fight there's parity, there's a level of a difference of opinion on who won that round, who won that fight. But on another scorecard, on another fight, there's unanimity. To me, it makes no sense. Next honorable mention, a stinker, an absolute stinker. Rua versus Saint-Preux. In that first round, I gave the first... I'll get that in a second. I had a 29-28 for Saint-Preux. Split D also. First round was close. I put a close marker on that because honestly, you can kind of argue it either way, but I lean towards Saint-Preux on that one. Judges scorecards. Junior Chikamija, 28 29-28. He gave the first two to Rua. Eric Colon, his scorecard reflects mine. And then Rick Winter had it 30-27. 30-27 for Saint-Preux. We're going to start off with Rick Winter real quick. So, honorable mention there, because I think the second round is wrong. It's incorrect. Second round is absolutely incorrect. He gave that to Saint-Preux in that second round. Okay, in that second round, Rua outstrikes Preux. That's probably the clearest. I mean, a round where you can confidently say who won. Right? It's his round, 100%. So honorable mention there. Junior Camijo. He gives the first to Rua, and I'm not mad. I think you can kind of argue it either way, but it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. Other than that, the close marker I put here indicates that anyone could have won this fight, and it wouldn't have mattered. So, the only honorable mention is just for that second round, where that's objectively the clearest round of that and the third. But you know what I'm trying to say is that's an obvious round of who won, which is who won that round because he outstruck Saint-Preux in that round. Next honorable mention. This is an honorable mention for me. Now, you know this. Anytime it's an honorable mention for me, I always explain why. In my head, I don't think it is. It's rare. It's rare that I'll give myself an honorable mention because I think I'm the best at doing scorecards. I'll explain in a second. So this is Chandler versus Ferguson. I gave it 10-9. This fight ended in a KO in the second. I gave it 10-9 to Chandler. All three judges gave it 10-9 to Ferguson in that first round. This is my beef. This is my pure beef with this whole people are getting dropped in how do you score it nonsense. Okay, I explained it last week. I explained it the week prior. I'm getting mad at this point because there used to be some sort of like uniformity of, okay, even if someone gets dropped, but they present something different or greater, they win the round. Okay, or if I've explained this already. I'm just repeating myself at this point. I'll explain the round. In that round, Chandler gets dropped. He gets dropped. Okay? They both land some shots on the feet, but Chandler gets dropped. Chandler goes for a takedown. Chandler gets the takedown, ground and pound, for about 2+ minutes, and maybe 130+ minutes or so. A minute and 30 seconds plus, right, of ground and pound. A little bit of ground and pound, but he's on top. Ferguson is active on the bottom. That's all right. I think it was enough for Chandler to win that round. I really do. Now, I gave myself an honorable mention because I could be wrong. I could be dead fucking wrong. And I'm leaning towards I'm probably wrong. Just to, maybe just a safe face probably. Which is why I gave myself an honorable mention here. But in my heart of hearts, I think Chandler won that round. I think Chandler came back and won that round. But it is what it is. Honorable mention for me. I'm a fuck up. I'll do better. But yeah, it's rounds like that just confuse me. Where a kid gets dropped, comes back, and not one judge gave that to him. I'm a little confused. But anyways, we go to the best fight of the night. Honorable mention for Namajunas versus Esparza. Now, I'm going to break this down because this was... Listen, when I say this is my favorite fight, it's because these are the fights. These are the fights that I've been training for. I haven't been... Listen, it's easy to score a fight where someone's outstriking the other person. It's easy to score a fight where people are wrestling back and forth. If you pay attention to who's on top and how many takedowns there are and hoobity blah. It's hard. It's the hardest for when no one's doing anything, because now you have to actually pay attention to the slight intricacies and who's doing what, and octagon control and cage control, and all that fancy word business. Namajunas versus Esparza, last honorable mention. I had this for Esparza 49-46 with a close marker on the first round, right? Obviously, you can't put a 10-10 or you can't put a 9-9 or whatever, because judges are encouraged to not have a tying round. They're discouraged from putting a tying round. So you have to score it. I had this 49-46 for Esparza. At the worst, this should be a 48-47 Esparza win. No other scorecard should reflect. This is a 48-47 at the worst for Esparza. I'm telling you, it shouldn't flip the other way. You cannot find me 3 rounds. You cannot find me an extra round here for Namajunas. Point blank simple. End of discussion. And we'll go through each of the rounds. So, but through the judges' scorecards. Again, I had it. Eric Colon had a 48-47 for Namajunas. Rick Winter had a 48-46. His scorecard exactly represents mine, which is all the first 4 rounds are for Esparza. The last round is for Namajunas, obviously. Brad Frank has a 48-47, except his scorecard is fucking wonky. But we'll go to it. So I don't have to touch Rick Winter. Over here is Eric Colon. He gives the first to Namajunas. Now, it's close. Like I said, I put a close marker on. It's close. What do you want? You can, at that point, you're looking for hairs there. Obviously, I think Esparza won. She was pushing the pace. Let me look what I wrote. That way I'm not waffling. Right, it was close on the feet. Barely any strikes landed. Carlos Esparza landed more strikes in that round. Very little strikes. Maybe 1, maybe 2. Okay. Now we go to the second round. Second round, Esparza. Okay. Esparza outstruck Namajunas 3-1. I counted 3-1 strikes. 3-1 in favor of Esparza. So, and then the third round. By the way, Eric Colon has the first for Namajunas, second for Esparza. Third, he gives to Namajunas. In the third round, it's close on strikes. Very close on strikes. Very little strikes are thrown or landed. Okay? Very close on strikes. Very little strikes have landed. This isn't a normal round where it's close on the feet and then a takedown. No, this is very little strikes and then a takedown by Esparza. That round should have gone to Esparza. Him and Brad Frank, honorable mention just for that. Because Brad Frank does that in the third. He gave a 10-8, a 10-9 to Namajunas in the third. Honorable mention there for him and Cologne. And then I'll just read off what else happened in the fourth round. Very close on strikes as well. Esparza got 2 takedowns, which, again, very little strikes landed. Which, this is the shit that pisses me off, right? It was just 1 extra takedown that she got that gives her the round on 2 judges' scorecards. But this round and the third round are essentially the same round, minus 1 takedown. Minus 1 takedown. Both rounds still should belong to Esparza. But that's whatever that is. And then in the fifth round, that's pretty easy. Namajunas outstrikes Esparza and got a takedown. And the rest is history. We have a new champ. So that was a lot. That's it. That's all I got. Overall, too many fights. God, I can't keep saying too many fights because it's not. I enjoyed most of the fights, but I didn't think I would see fights that were testing my patience. But I'm used to that, though. There's some fight nights where some fighters take off, and you have to judge those fights. So I was prepared, but I'm looking at these and I'm just thinking 14 fights in a row is crazy. And it's not the fact that these are decisions. We've had cards where they're just decisions, but this is just absolutely insane. Absolutely insane. So, that's all I got. I'm tired. No sleep. Not no sleep, excuse me. I need to go to sleep. Thank you for listening. Hopefully I'll be back next week. Thank you, and God bless.